Alaska is one of two U.S. states not bordered by another state, Hawaii the other. Alaska has more ocean coastline than all of the other U.S. states combined. About 500 miles of Canadian territory separate Alaska from Washington state. Alaska is thus an exclave of the United States that is part of the continental U.S. but is not part of the contiguous U.S. Alaska is also the only state, other than Hawaii, whose capital city is accessible only via ship or air, because no roads connect Juneau to the rest of the continent. The state is bordered by Yukon and British Columbia, Canada to the east, the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific Ocean to the south, the Bering Sea, Bering Strait, and Chukchi Sea to the west, and the Beaufort Sea in the Arctic Ocean to the north. Because it extends into the eastern hemisphere, it is technically both the westernmost and easternmost state in the United States, as well as also being the northernmost. Alaska is the largest state in the United States in terms of land area at 570,380 square miles, over twice as large as Texas, the next largest state. If the state's westernmost point were superimposed on San Francisco, California, its easternmost point would be in Jacksonville, Florida. It is larger than all but 16 sovereign nations. Alaska is home to 3.5 million lakes of 20 acres or larger. Marshlands and wetland permafrost cover 188,320 square miles. Frozen water, in the form of glacier ice, covers some 16,000 square miles of land and 1,200 square miles of tidal zone. The Bering Glacier Complex near the southeastern border with Yukon, Canada, covers 2,250 square miles alone. Regions. South-central Alaska is the southern coastal region and contains most of the state's population. Anchorage and many growing towns, such as Palmer and Whistler, lie within this area. Petroleum industrial plants, transportation, tourism, and two military bases form the core of the economy here. The Alaska Panhandle, also known as Southeast Alaska, is home to many of Alaska's larger towns, including the state capital Juneau, tidewater, glaciers, and extensive forests. Tourism, fishing, forestry, and state government anchor the economy. Southwest Alaska is largely coastal, bordered by both the Pacific Ocean and the Bering Sea. It is sparsely populated and unconnected to the road system, but incredibly important to the fishing industry. Half of all fish caught in the western U.S. come from the Bering Sea, and Bristol Bay has the world's largest sockeye salmon fishery. Southwest Alaska includes Katmai and Lake Clark National Parks, as well as numerous wildlife refuges. The region comprises western Cook Inlet, Bristol Bay and its watersheds, the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutian Islands. It is known for wet and stormy weather, tundra landscapes, and large populations of salmon, brown bears, caribou, birds, and marine mammals. The Alaska interior is home to Fairbanks. The geography is marked by large braided rivers, such as the Yukon River and the Kuskokwim River, as well as Arctic tundra lands and shorelines. The Alaskan Bush is the remote, less crowded part of the state, encompassing 380 native villages and small towns such as Nome, Bethel, Kotzebue and, most famously, Barrow, the northernmost town in the United States. The northeast corner of Alaska is covered by the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. Much of the northwest is covered by the larger National Petroleum Reserve Alaska, which covers around 23 million acres. The Arctic is Alaska's most remote wilderness. A location in the National Petroleum Reserve Alaska is 120 miles from any town or village. The geographic point most remote from permanent permanent habitation in the USA. With its numerous islands, Alaska has nearly 34,000 miles of tidal shoreline. The island chain extending west from the southern tip of the Alaska Peninsula is called the Aleutian Islands. Many active volcanoes are found in the Aleutians. For example, Unimak Island is home to Mount Shishaldin, a moderately active volcano that rises to 9,980 feet above sea level. The chain of volcanoes extends to Mount Spur, west of Anchorage on the mainland. One of North America's largest tides occurs in Turnagain Arm just south of Anchorage. Tidal differences can be more than 35 feet. The Aleutian Islands cross longitude 180 degrees, so Alaska can be considered the easternmost state as well as the westernmost. Alaska and, especially, the Aleutians are one of the extreme points of the United States. The international dateline jogs west of 180 degrees to keep the whole state, and thus the entire continental United States, within the same legal day. Land management. According to an October 1998 report by the United States Bureau of Land Management, approximately 65% of Alaska is owned and managed by the U.S. federal government as national forests, national parks, and national wildlife refuges. Of these, the Bureau of Land Management manages 87 million acres, or 23.8% of the state. The Arctic National Wildlife Refuge is managed by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. Of the remaining land area, the state of Alaska owns 24.5%. Another 10% is managed by 13 regional and dozens of local native corporations created under the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act. Various private interests own the remaining land, totaling less than 1%. Alaska is administratively divided into boroughs, as opposed to counties. The function is the same, but whereas some states use a three-tiered system of decentralization, state, county, township, most of Alaska only uses two tiers, state, borough. Owing to the state's low population density, most of the land is located in the unorganized borough which, as the name implies, has no intermediate borough government of its own, but is administered directly by the state government. Currently 57.71% of Alaska's land area has this status. However, its population comprises only 13.05% of the state's total. For statistical purposes, the United States Census Bureau divides this territory into census areas. Anchorage merged the city government with the Greater Anchorage Area Borough in 1971 to form the municipality of Anchorage, containing the city proper and the bedroom communities of Eagle River, Chilliwack, Peters Creek, Girdwood, Bird Creek, and Indian.